Hi guys. All right, I'm going to get to the big story, which is the ABC cover-up of Jeffrey Epstein. But before that, I want to talk about the finders and more importantly, the McMartin preschool scandal real quickly. So, in my last video, I went over briefly the finders because the FBI had just released and declassified documents on the finders. The Finders was an organization that was involved in the rape, torture, trafficking, kidnapping, and satanic ritualistic abuse of children that was funded by the CIA. So this organization that was raping, trafficking, torturing, kidnapping kids, and performing satanic ritualistic abuse on these children was funded by the United States government, all right? So that came out when I did my last video. And when it came out, it was actually right before I did my last video. I didn't have enough time to go through all the documents. After I did my last video, I stayed up for hours and I went through the document dump. There's hundreds of pages of documents. What stood out to me the most is that there were 2 pages in that document that detailed the tunnels found underneath the McMartin Preschool in Manhattan Beach, California. I almost fell off my chair. I could not believe it. So, number one, what we learned from this dump is that our United States government was funding the rape, torture, and trafficking and satanic ritualistic abuse of children via this organization called the Finders. And this administration just declassified documents to prove that. Number 2, what we found out from this document dump is that there were indeed tunnels underneath the McMartin Preschool. So for those of you that don't know about the McMartin Preschool case, I'll give you just a brief rundown of it. So this was back in the 80s, maybe the late 70s. It was reported. Hold on, let me get my notes out on this. So I just want to make sure I get it right. So what happened is there was a preschool in Manhattan Beach, California, and the children told their parents that they were being raped and tortured and trafficked. And they told their parents that they were being trafficked via underground tunnels to a church. And when they got to the church, that's where they were abused. That's where satanic rituals were performed on them. And that's where they were raped. And a bunch of crazy things happened to these children. All right. So this was back in the 80s. Okay, the first accusations were made in 1983. Okay, so and by the way, all these children had signs of sexual abuse. The parents took these children to the doctors and they had issues with their, private areas. And there was a ton of evidence that these children were sexually abused and that they were telling the truth. And they also claimed that, the children claimed that the people that were abusing them were high-profile people, politicians, athletes, some celebrities, you name it. So this was an elite pedophile ring in Los Angeles. And it was utilizing underground tunnels to traffic the children, which happens all the time, and it happens all over the United States and actually all over the world. A lot of these children are trafficked through tunnels. So that's how these people get away with it, and they've been able to get away with it for so long because the children are transported from one destination to another destination in underground tunnels. So the average person does not see the actual trafficking. And that's why so many people have been allowed to get away with this stuff for so long. Okay, so when I first started researching Pizzagate back in 2016, I went way down the rabbit hole and I read a lot about the Finders and the McMartin Preschool scandal. So, long story short, the defendants who were the owners of this preschool got off, and a lot of the jurors said that the reason why they could not convict the owners of the preschool, even though all the children or most of the children showed signs of abuse and they did believe that they were abused, is because they found no evidence of the tunnels. When I say they, the investigators on the case found no evidence of the tunnels. So then Ted Gunderson, who has been blowing the whistle on a lot of these elite pedophile rings back in the 80s, who was by then a retired FBI agent, an absolute hero, by the way, he came in and he found evidence that there were indeed tunnels. But if you read the mainstream media, even back then, the mainstream media said that there was no evidence of tunnels. And to this day, the entire mainstream media says there was no evidence of tunnels. Oxygen just did a series on the McMartin preschool scandal, and I didn't watch it, by the way, but I was reading about it, and Oxygen also claims that there was no evidence that there were tunnels. Well, guess what? In this document dump, that declassified documents from the FBI vault, there was 2 documents in that file of hundreds of papers that clearly cite that there were tunnels underneath the preschool, and they found the tunnels. And the document goes into detail describing the tunnels underneath the preschool, okay? So these monsters got off because there were a lot of bad people, and I think some in law enforcement too, that covered up the fact that these children were being trafficked under tunnels. And these tunnels were, by the way, filled in. So when I think they did tours during the trial of the actual preschool, and that's part of the reason why they didn't find the tunnels, but the tunnels were covered up. So this proves that this pedophile ring is real. This pedophile ring did exist, and they indeed were trafficking children through these tunnels, and I believe everything that these children have said about this case. So this document dump proves that children were being trafficked under the McMartin preschool, which was a huge story back in the 80s. All the mainstream media outlets covered it. Every single one of them. It was huge. This was part of the satanic panic era that, people thought was just BS and not real. Newsflash, it was real. So this has come out. This is a huge story. Ted Gunderson had been screaming at the rooftops for years and years and years that this stuff is real, and he found evidence of the tunnels, and he was dismissed. The children were dismissed. And here the FBI is releasing documents proving that these children were abused, there were tunnels, and this elite pedophile ring was real. Okay? So we now know that this was real. And all the players involved in this satanic trafficking ring, where they were abusing children in the most horrendous ways. If you look into the details of the cases and you read about what they did to these children, it goes beyond trafficking them and raping them, which obviously is horrible within itself. But when I talk about elite pedophile rings and the satanic ritualistic abuse, I always mention rape, torture, and trafficking. I always make a point of saying the word torture, because the children aren't just raped, they are tortured. They are physically abused. They are forced to kill babies. They are forced to kill animals. They are forced to have sex with animals. I mean, the most disgusting things that you could ever fathom forcing another human, let alone a child, to do, they have done to these children. And I've been reporting on this for years, and I've become friends with a lot of victims of satanic ritualistic abuse, and it's horrifying. So this was a huge case back in the 80s. And the defendants walked, everyone walked. The children, I can't even imagine what kind of scars and emotional trauma and damage was done to them. especially finding out that the monsters that hurt them got off. So it's a huge case. It's all over the media. The defendants get off. Years later, we finally have the proof it was real. We finally have the proof it's real. Has one mainstream media outlet covered it? Has one? No one has covered this. This is an absolute bombshell. This proves that these children were trafficked. This was released by the FBI 2 weeks ago. Not one. You guys Google it yourself. Type in McMartin Preschool. There is not one mainstream media outlet that has covered this. Not one. And Wikipedia still has on its website that there was no evidence of tunnels found. And I've been tagging them. You need to update your Wikipedia page. The FBI just released documents proving that there were tunnels. This is where we're at. This is how horrifying the media is. We have proof that this huge case that all these mainstream media outlets covered, the Washington Post actually back then did a reasonable piece on this case. Not one newspaper in the mainstream media, not one network, not one magazine, nothing. Literally no one has covered this revelation with this bombshell case. No one has covered the fact that the CIA was trafficking children through an organization called the Finders, you guys. It's utter insanity. Not even the more right-leaning blogs and news outlets have covered this. I think aside from maybe the Epic Times. That is how scary the news has become. This is a huge story. We found out that the McMartin Preschool case was real. We found out the CIA is trafficking our kids. Trump's administration released the proof. Nothing from the mainstream media. Absolute crickets. This is why you watch this channel. Because I report stuff that no one else reports. And I've been doing this for years, and I still really hard for me to process how corrupt our media has become, to process that these huge bombshell stories are coming out, proving that these elite pedophile rings are real, and that children are being hurt every single day because of it, and no one will do anything about it. No one will report it. These are official government records. It's just mind-blowing to me how corrupt the media has become. President Trump has called the media the number one enemy of the American people. And you know what? They're the number one enemy of children because their behavior has facilitated and enabled child predators, pedophiles, and Satanists to hurt children, torture children, rape children, and kill children for years and years and years, and it has to stop. Okay. So that's that. That's that with the Finders. That's that with the McMartin Preschool case. And I posted on my Instagram the documents proving that there were tunnels underneath the McMartin Preschool, so you can check that out at Liz Crokin. And I also posted it on my Facebook page. And you know what you can do to hold the media accountable and to spread awareness is you can post about this, and you can post these documents on your Twitter pages, on your Facebook page, on your Instagram pages, and you can tag all these media outlets. And you can even post, stories that they did in the 80s about the McMartin Preschool trial and say, wow, you covered this in the 80s and you said that these tunnels didn't exist. Here's the proof they did. Where the hell are you? Why aren't you reporting this? People are always asking me what they can do. That's something that you can do, is go online and call these people out. Call these sick people on social media out. I do it almost every day. Almost every single day. Okay, so that's the deal with that. So, now let's talk about something that infuriates me even more. Amy Robach and ABC. So Project Veritas, run by James O'Keefe, the organization does amazing work. They've been breaking more news than the entire mainstream media combined. They expose so much government corruption, and they are a fantastic organization, and they do great work, as most of you know. So Project Veritas gets a hold of a video of Amy Robach from ABC on a hot mic complaining about how years ago, so this would be back in 2015, she had the story on Jeffrey Epstein, and she had all the evidence to prove that him and his friends were involved in raping and trafficking children. And she interviewed Virginia, I believe it's Giuffre, sorry, I'm always bad with her last name. They convinced Virginia to come out of hiding to do the story. And she claims she worked on it for a very long time, and her network refused to do the story because they were afraid, since Prince Andrew is implicated. He's a pedophile. He's a good friend of Jeffrey Epstein. He's been to the island many times, and he's a serial child rapist. Because Prince Andrew is implicated in her allegations, ABC squashed the story. They spiked it because they were more concerned with getting interviews from Will and Kate, these are Amy's words, not mine, than they were with reporting the fact that these elites are raping children and trafficking children, all right? So the video comes out. She's caught on a hot mic, and she exposes all this on a hot mic. She didn't release this video. This video was released against her will. Someone else released the video, all right? So the video comes out, and she's not pissed that ABC is covering up the rape, torture, and trafficking of children. You know what she's pissed about? She's pissed she didn't get the scoop. She was more pissed that she couldn't get the glory of breaking this story that was broken years later than the fact that the company that she takes a paycheck from is covering up the satanic ritualistic abuse of children. That's where we're at. This is the kind of person that is bringing you the news. These people are all monsters. They are all in on it. The people at the top, they all know this stuff is going on. They all know Pizzagate is real. They've always known Pizzagate is real. They don't give a shit. These are disgusting, soulless people. Many of them are involved. Many of them are pedophiles themselves. Many of them have gone to Epstein's island and raped children. The ones that aren't pedophiles, they don't care. They don't care about the children. They don't care that children are being tortured. They don't care that they've been trafficked. They don't care that they are performing satanic ritualistic abuse on children. They care more about fame and money than getting the truth out. And as someone that has worked so hard my entire career to always tell the truth and to expose corruption, and that's why I became a journalist, to see this is so infuriating to me. And it's so depressing to know that no one cares about the kids in the media. It's so depressing to me that literally no one else was willing to take a stand for these children aside from Ben Swan in the mainstream media when the Podesta emails came out in 2016. No one else had the courage or the balls or just the morality and the conscience or the humanity to do the right thing. It's so depressing. It's so discouraging. That is where we're at, people. We have people like witch Amy Robach who care more about fame, money, and getting the scoop than they care about the fact that children are being raped and killed. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And It's been going on for too long, and it's time for the mainstream media to fall, and it's time for all of these people to be exposed. And I gotta say, when this story came out, and the first time I watched this video, my first reaction was, she doesn't give a shit about the children. She's just pissed that she didn't get the glory. I was stunned by it. That was my first reaction, and that was most people's first reaction when watching this video. And I gotta say, I watched Fox News that night, and Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity covered the story, but I was really disappointed in both of them because they both hailed Amy as a hero. How is she a hero? She never blew the whistle on ABC. She actually, when the video came out, she backpedaled the story and she contradicted what she said in the tape. When the story came out and the tape came out, she said, oh, I was caught in a moment of frustration. The reason why we didn't air the Epstein story is because we didn't have enough corroborating evidence. Bullshit, bitch. Yeah, you did. Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs were already out in 2015. There were other news networks that had already covered the story, including an ABC affiliate. You can Google it yourself. I posted a story from Gawker from back in 2015. I went through Epstein's flight logs years ago. They've been available to the public for a very long time. And in her video, she says, they couldn't corroborate. They said there wasn't enough corroborating information, but she also says we had everything. And Bill Clinton was there, and, Alan Dershowitz was there. You couldn't corroborate it? What are you talking about? The flight records were out back then. How could you not corroborate that Bill Clinton was there when the flight records were already out? They were public record. So she's backpedaling now, and she's defending ABC's actions. Why? Because she's a shallow bitch that cares more about fame and money than she does about the truth, than she does about children, and it makes me want to throw up. All right? And another thing that I noticed after this story came out, and I was looking into Amy, after they spiked her story, her career soared. She got promoted, and she got all these wonderful exclusives covering the royal wedding. She just got the Hunter Biden exclusive. The interview where she gave him completely softball questions? And then, just a few weeks ago, she interviewed Chelsea Clinton and Hillary Clinton about their stupid book, Gutsy Woman. What does gutsy woman mean? Does that mean women that likes to eat the guts of children? Because Amy's not a gutsy woman, and we sure know that Hillary and Chelsea aren't gutsy women. They're sated. So it's very interesting to me that after they spiked her story, her career soared, and she started getting all these great interviews with these disgusting elite people. And so I just can't help but wonder if after they spiked her story, they're like, oh, sorry, that hard work, we're going to spike your story, and you don't get to take all the credit for breaking the story. We'll promote you, just stay quiet, and we'll give you a bunch of great interviews, like interviewing satanic witch/trafficker Hillary Clinton herself. And here's the other thing. She knew that Bill Clinton was involved in the rape, torture, and trafficking of children. She had to have known Hillary was too. She went to the island. Hillary went to the island at least 6 times. I don't believe for 1 second that she doesn't know that Hillary Clinton's a pedophile herself too, and that she was involved in trafficking children, not only on the island, but through her foundation. So you mean to tell me that you know that Hillary Clinton's trafficking children, you know her husband's trafficking children, and you can sit and smile? Oh, Hillary, tell me about your book, and laugh, and have this great interview with her, and you can talk about how amazing her relationship is with Chelsea. And she also went to England and covered the royal wedding. She knew that the royal family is involved in trafficking. She knew that they were covering it up. She knew that the royal family was threatening her network because they were going to expose this. And she still chose to work at ABC. She still chose to cover the royal wedding and paint them in a positive light. She still chose to sit across from an interview with Hillary Clinton and smile like it's so great. You sold your soul to the devil. You sold your soul to the devil, bitch. And you're going to have to live with that for the rest of your life. She is not a hero. She's a piece of crap. She doesn't give a shit about children. All she cares about is herself. And she's disgusting. She had a golden opportunity. Project Veritas, they contacted her that she had a golden opportunity to actually be a hero and come out and tell the truth and say, yes, they did spike my story. I had enough information for this story to come out. We had all the evidence. We had all the facts. And I was very disappointed that they spiked the story and that they would cover something as horrific as this up. She had a golden opportunity to do the right thing, and then she would have been a hero. And she would have been hailed as a hero. She didn't do it. She didn't do it. No one does it. Everyone's a coward. Everyone is a coward. All right. Chadwick Moore from The Spectator wrote a great piece about Amy Robach. I was talking about how her career skyrocketed after they spiked her Epstein story. And he wrote a great article about that. It's something along the curious case or career of Amy Robach, something like that. He wrote it for The Spectator. Great article. He calls her out, makes some great points. Check it out if you want to look more into this. Okay. Something else I want to bring up about ABC. ABC knew that this was going on. They spiked the story. But I also want to emphasize this. They were also covering this up. It wasn't just that they decided to spike the story. They were actively, and they still are actively covering up the story and what really is going on. The mainstream media has tried to paint the Jeffrey Epstein story and the NXIVM stories as, oh, okay, well, these leads were engaged in, raping girls. But they imply that it's girls that, were older and they were teenagers, and some of them were borderline adults, maybe 17, like barely legal girls. Same with NXIVM. And what they failed to report is, no, they actually were raping girls that were teenagers, but they were also raping children. And they also were raping children and babies. And they also were engaged in satanic ritualistic abuse on these children. That's why there was a satanic temple on Epstein's Island. That's why there were underground tunnels there and underground caves and rooms, because they were performing rituals on these children and torturing them underground, okay? So the mainstream media, when they do cover these stories, they only tell you a small fraction of what's going on. And they don't get into the really horrific stuff that these people are doing. So, for example, in this past summer, in July, ABC reported that the Satanic Temple on Epstein's Island was a gym. Well, there's photos of the inside of the Satanic Temple on Epstein's Island, and there are rape beds everywhere. There's not gym equipment. There's no treadmill. So ABC is still covering up for Jeffrey Epstein and this satanic elite pedophile ring. They try to tell you that his satanic temple, where they're raping children, sacrificing children, and performing all kinds of satanic ritualistic abuse on these children, was a gym. And they don't call the building a satanic temple, which it was. They just call it a colorful building on his island. So they're still covering. They're still covering up. So, Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson trying to say Amy is a hero. I love you guys. And I usually love everything you guys say and report, but you guys missed the mark on this one. That woman is no hero. She's disgusting. She did not do the right thing. She's still not doing the right thing. And how many children could have been saved if she had come out to Project Veritas or to someone years ago and told the truth on this. And to this day, she's still covering for ABC and their actions to save her job and her position and her salary and whatnot. So, and look, I understand why some journalists don't want to cover this because they don't want to lose their job. They have to pay bills and they have children and they have a family to feed. I understand that. And I understand that more than anyone because I've lost jobs for exposing the truth on child sex trafficking. However, you don't have to cover this stuff up. You can work in news and just not cover sex trafficking at all or Epstein at all. But when you choose to actively cover up crimes against children, you are an accessory to crimes against children. And those are the people that make me sick. And as far as I'm concerned, any quote-unquote journalist that has chosen to cover up crimes against children should be prosecuted. So, all right, the story comes out, and just on a side note, Katie Pavlich from Town Hall went on, I believe it was Tucker, talking about the story, and she made some connections between Jeffrey Epstein and George Stephanopoulos. By the way, all these connections have been out there for years, and this case has been out there for years. The flight logs have been out there for years. I've been talking about this for years, but okay, everyone's acting like it's new news. Anyways, she went on talking about how ABC covered up this story. And I just thought that was really funny because I used to work for Town Hall, and I wrote 2 stories about sex trafficking for Town Hall, and they both went viral. And then I turned in, after the 2 stories did really well, I turned in a 3rd story about sex trafficking. And that was the first time in my whole time working at Town Hall that they didn't run one of my columns that I'd submitted. And then I think I turned in another one about sex trafficking and they wouldn't run that one either. And then they told me that they were no longer going to pay me. Katie Pavlich told me that herself. So I just find it very ironic that Katie Pavlich is coming out talking about how ABC spiked the story when I basically was fired by Town Hall for exposing sex trafficking. They would probably never admit that. And she said, you weren't fired at the time. She told me, you weren't fired, but we just no longer are going to pay you. Okay, well, they weren't running my stories anymore, and they told me they weren't going to pay me. So how is that not being fired? So anyways, yeah, that was really rich to see her talking about this when she silenced me when I was working at Town Hall back in 2017. Pretty awesome. All these people in the mainstream media are guilty. Everyone's guilty. Everyone knew about this, and no one did anything. No one. The only person that did anything from the mainstream media was Ben Swan. He did one great piece on Pizzagate, and then he was punished for it. Everyone else is guilty. Every single person in the mainstream media is guilty. Okay, so that brings me to Megyn Kelly. So Megyn Kelly came out today. She's independent now, and she launched an Instagram page today talking about, she implied that she had an interview with the person that leaked the tape, the ABC tape of Amy Robach on the hot mic, saying that ABC spiked her Jeffrey Epstein story. And this person, she claimed, was working at CBS now, but had been subsequently fired after ABC put pressure on CBS to fire her because they thought that she was the one that leaked the tape. So Megyn Kelly has this big exclusive interview with this girl today. And she initially, earlier in the day, she implied that this girl was the girl that leaked the tape. Well, it turns out she wasn't the girl that leaked the tape. She claims that, ABC got it wrong and she was fired from CBS with no explanation, blah, blah, blah. It's very confusing and it's weird. It strikes me as very fishy, quite frankly. But that's besides the point. The point I want to bring up about this interview with Megyn Kelly is there's not one person that has done more that I can think of to cover up Pizzagate than Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly is the one that had the exclusive interview with James Alefantis. James Alefantis is the guy that owns Comet Ping Pong. And he has an Instagram page that is absolutely littered with sexualization of children, the promotion of sex with children, pedophile code words everywhere. Not just pedophile code words, there's also known pedophile terms such as chicken lovers. He uses phrases like chicken lovers on his Instagram page in pictures of photos of adult men with children. A chicken lover is a gay grown man that likes to have sex with children, okay? He posted pictures of children being sexualized. He posted pictures of children that looked like they were abused. He posted a picture of a little girl and a pizza teacher that read "pizza slut." He posted a picture of an infant and the caption was "Daddy likes butt." He posted a picture of another infant with anal beads. I can go on and on all day. His Instagram page promoted the rape of children, all right? And when the Podesta's emails came out, people looked into him and it was very clear this guy's a pedophile. And anyways, the mainstream media turned Pizzagate into not that there's elites trafficking children around the world. They turned it into something it wasn't, and they tried to make it seem like Pizzagate really was just about James Alefantis and Hillary Clinton, and they were trafficking kids out of his pizza restaurant. Are they guilty? Yes. Were they hurting children there? Yes. Is he a pedophile? Yes. Is that what Pizzagate is about? No. They try to make it about that so it would seem ridiculous and unbelievable, and it was kind of a wag of the dog type thing. Look here, don't look there. Whatever. So, anyways, she interviewed him, and she had a golden opportunity to ask him, why do you promote pedophilia on your Instagram page? Why do you call children pizza sluts? Why do you use pedophile code words? Why do you use known pedophile words like chicken lovers? Why are there pictures of children that look abused on your Instagram page? Why do you have pictures of a room that's filled with cement with no windows and with captions reading torture chamber? Why do you have bands performing at your restaurant that are bragging about raping children? Why did you come out and say that there's no basement at Comet Ping Pong, but in an interview you did with a local Washington, D.C. magazine years ago, you said there was a basement, and that's where you stored your tomatoes? You know what she did, you guys? Megyn Kelly sat there, and she said Pizzagate's fake news. She acted like that he was this huge victim. She said Pizzagate was bogus. She said Pizzagate was a conspiracy theory. She kept saying, I mean, you just serve pizza. Like, that's all you do. Like, you just because you donate to Democrats that doesn't make you a pedophile. She covered for his ass. Another soulless demon. Megyn Kelly sold her soul. And then she went to NBC and covered the NXIVM case, but left out all the parts about child sex trafficking and pedophilia, which everyone in the mainstream media did with NXIVM too. No one's reporting that they were running preschools in Mexico. No one's reporting that Keith Raniere, the founder, was a pedophile. No one's reporting that they were raping and trafficking kids. Megyn Kelly included. They're all covering this shit up, you guys. Every single last one of them. I went to Politicon a few years ago, and I was talking to media people there, and they're all like, oh yeah, we all know Pizzagate's real. Everyone, no one wants to touch it. Oh well. What? They all know, at least the people at the top, maybe, lower level beat reporters at local newspapers and stuff. No, they probably don't know. And the reporters that don't know, that aren't in the know, that don't think it's real, then they're stupid. Because it just takes a few minutes of research to realize this stuff is real. And if you're that stupid, you can't see that Pizzagate's real, then you shouldn't be a journalist. Anyways. Yeah, so seeing Megyn Kelly make a comeback, interviewing this girl involved in the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up, that was hilarious. She's on Instagram, so go over to her Instagram page at Megan Kelly and say hi. That's kind of, those are the main points that I really wanted to talk about tonight. There's a lot of good stuff going on. Don Jr. is going scorched earth, exposing pedophiles. He went on The View the other day and called out Whoopi for downplaying Roman Polanski raping a 13-year-old child, which she did on The View, by the way. And then when he called her out, she denied it, but everyone's been posting the video where she did downplay Roman Polanski violently raping a 13-year-old. She said it wasn't rape. So Don Jr. called her out about that and triggered her. That's the name of her new book. And which is amazing, because I've been calling out these pedophile Satanists for years, and very few people have been. So it's so amazing to see things come full circle, and to see such a powerful voice such as Don Jr., the president's son, going into the lion's den and calling out these people for who they are. These people are pedophiles, or they're pedophile enablers. All right? And I think that the drawing lines here, the battlegrounds become very clear. You're either a pedophile Satanist and you support that and you're with that, or you're not. You support the children and you're with the army of God. That's where we're at. It's no longer about race. It's no longer about religion. It's no longer about Republican versus Democrat. It's like, you either support the pedophile Satanists or you don't. And all the people that hate Trump, the ones that scream the loudest against him, they're pedophiles, all right? So yeah, Don Jr. is doing awesome. Go on his Twitter page. He called out Whoopi for covering up for or making excuses for Roman Polanski, who raped a 13-year-old. And then the whistleblower the lawyer for the whistleblower and the whole Ukraine impeachment scandal, well, the lawyer for the whistleblower, he actually tweeted a few years ago that he got clearances for people that had child porn stashes. And apparently this guy loves Disney World and goes to Disney World by himself. And apparently on his YouTube channel, he was liking all these videos of underage Princess Disney stars. The guy is creepy and probably a pedophile himself. Oh, and then he also tweeted, I just saw this, that he implied that he was at Jeffrey Epstein's island. So all the people that are trying the hardest to take down Donald Trump, as I've been saying for years, are pedophiles, or they're involved with them, or they're linked to trafficking or the cover-up in some way, shape, or form. I've been saying this for 3 years, and it's all coming out. And it's great to see someone like Don Jr. going scorched earth, not holding back anymore, no tap dancing around the trafficking stuff. It's so nice to see him and others come out and call out these people for the monsters that they are. So, that's all I got for tonight. Yeah, that's all I got for tonight. So, you guys, I hope you have a good weekend. And if you're bored, go online and tweet people like Megan Kelly and tell them how you really feel. Amy Robach, tweet about her. Tweet her directly. Let them know how you feel about these people in media covering up the rape, torture, and trafficking of children for years. Let them know.